Hey guys, this is Davey T from Fieldsport Scotland, and today I'm going to be talking about multispectral scopes and the DNT OPtics 635 Thermnight multispectral scope. It's digital day vision, digital night vision, and it is thermal with a built-in laser rangefinder and built-in IR. So basically everything that comes out the box is part of it. I have had this scope on my 243 now for a number of months, and I have used it for deer and foxes alike, and I think it's phenomenal. I think it is a fantastic scope, but it's not just about what it does, because the technology for each of them is not new. Combining the technology is a little bit new, but I'm going to explain to you why that these scopes are a little bit better than what individual scopes are. They like an individual night vision scope or an individual thermal optic is. And do you know what? It's kind of funny, and it's kind of apt to talk about this right now when some of the night vision manufacturers or thermal manufacturers like Pulsar are declaring that they will no longer be doing digital night vision. Anyway, let's talk about this scope first. It is, the thermal side of things is a 640 by 512 pixel resolution. 635 just means a 35mm scope, and it's a 640 sensor. So genuinely it is kind of standard for all thermal sensors to go up on the stages. So you've got 220, 640, 220, 340, 640, 1080 and 1240. So basically those are what it tends to go up in increments. There'll be a little bit kind of variations here and there for different brands, but it's pretty much that's the way it goes. So the 635R is genuinely what is classed now the midsection of thermal. However, it wasn't that long ago, we're only talking 2 years ago or a year ago, that a 640 sensor thermal was top of the range and you were paying £7,000-8,000 for. The price itself for this, and we'll get that out of the way, is £2,499 in the on the website, and I'll set a link to it in the description. I'm going to go through some footage as well that I've taken over the last few days in regards to me shooting deer, and how I use the scope pretty much as standard. I try not to use the scope as a thermal imager too much. I try to bounce between the digital night vision and the thermal when I am shooting at night, and I'll go through the reasons for that. But for the money, £2,499, you are getting a lot of equipment here in such a compact unit. The detection range is well past 400 meters. The digital night vision has the IR is capable of going out past over 250 yards, way beyond anything that you should be shooting at night. Basically, this scope can pretty much do it all. With the 640 resolution thermal, it is fantastic for IDing stuff. Deer and things like that, you can get well past 200, well past 400. For foxes and smaller animals, rabbits and things like that, 200, 250 for proper ID, but detection range is far longer. And you'll see that in some in the footage that I am putting along with this video. Now, there's a fox bothering the sheep around about 562 yards. Only one I've seen all night. Sit there. Just see it no more. bit of thermal. I wouldn't even attempt that shot, I don't think. "723 yards, 711 yards." Really crazy. Now, why am I talking about this? Now, I've been working with DNT now for over a year, for nearly a year, not over a year, nearly a year. I have their 520 Zulus on one of my rifles. I've got the 312, sorry, Zulus on my 270. I have the 635 on the 243, and I've got the 225 Thermnight on the I've got the 635 on the 243, and I've got the 225 on the 223. Now, when I am running these scopes, I'm running them in tandem with each other. I'm running the facilities on the scopes in tandem with each other. So I'm not just using it as a thermal scope, I'm also using it as a digital night vision. And with the scopes, it's nice and easy. Just tip a button and basically you're flicking back and forward from scope to scope, which is ideal. And I'll explain that in a minute. What is the difference between apart from the resolution, the sensor, and a few other bits, what is the difference between the 635 and, say, the 225? Well, the resolution is a big deal. You have a far better detection range. With the 225, I would rather just use as a digital night vision and use the thermal on the picture-in-picture display for tracking and spotting and things like that. With this, you can feel a little bit more comfortable using it as a rifle scope in open country with the thermal. Pretty much setting up is the exact same, similar to the 225. All the menu's slightly different. It does have your kind of left-hand side menu, but it's all very self-explanatory. There is nothing with these optics. I'm not going to go into the menus today, but there's nothing with these optics that are complicated, unlike some other brands that I have had to deal with, where there is you're just bombarded with huge amounts of information that you're wondering what to do. The good thing about the software in these units compared to the Zuluses, for instance, is that it does actually have physical save options for saving your zero and stuff like that. You actually click save instead of blindly hitting a button and hoping it is saved. But to be honest, many other optics don't have that save function either. And you are just basically you're hotkeying a button and hoping that's saved. This will actually has a kind of menu option to save it, which is good. You still, like with the 225, if you want to use your bullet calculator, you take your measurement from the center of your barrel to the center of your top lens, which is your digital night vision. You don't do it to your thermal, you do it to your digital night vision. So bear that in mind when you're setting up the ballistic calculator. But everything else in regards to setting up ballistics is the exact same as the Zulus, is what it is to the 225 Thermnight as well. So there is not much different. Button layout between the 225 and the 635 is slightly different. The arrangement of how the scopes, the various different products are sitting as well is different. So for the 225, you have a more rounded shape laser rangefinder, which on this one is a more compact square. Likewise, but everything else is pretty much the same. The buttons, however, instead of having a button forward for the laser rangefinder, you do have the two little buttons here, which are far easier. Now these are clicky buttons, so you can actually hear and feel a physical click instead of soft touch buttons where you don't know if you pressed it properly or whatever. And you often find with those soft touch buttons as well that because you're not feeling a physical click, you will overpress the buttons and damage them over time. Now these ones are pretty much quite robust. Been using them on and off in all sorts of temperatures. The base magnification for the 635 is 1.5 times. Now that gives you your best quality image and it gives you widest field of view. Now, there is a problem with the 1.5 is that if you are dialed right back to 1.5, you will struggle to kind of pick up anything that is long. Well, you'll pick it up, but you'll kind of struggle to kind of identify what you're doing at long ranges. Now, that 1.5 though is ideal if you're in 10-acre fields and you've got basically 200 yards to deal with on that field and that is it. That is fantastic then because you're getting your wide field of view and basically you can see everything in that field. Now I usually run it on roughly around about 3.5 times and that pretty much does me for everything. I don't really need to zoom in. Now bearing in mind every time you zoom in from that base mag, your quality decreases by half. Well, by whatever it is. So if it's 1.5 times, if you go to 3 times magnification, then it will then it'll obviously the quality will drop by half. If you go to 6, it'll drop by half again. Now it does only have a maximum zoom on the thermal as 6 times, but frankly you don't need any more of that. You really don't. Sorry, a hiccup there. However, with your digital night vision, you still have your 5-20 like what you have on your 5-20 Zulus. So basically, what you're losing on the thermal, you're gaining on the digital night vision. And that is important actually because if you are going for those longer ranges, you're most likely, due to thermal bleed, want to use the digital night vision over the thermal. And that's important. Now, another feature, I don't know if you can see it in the video here, is that they have put a throw lever in system. You can remove the throw lever if it becomes a problem, but they put a throw lever in instead of a little kind of a wheel dial. Now, that is actually fantastic. It's a smooth movement. Now, I'm going to say there's a downside. There is no throw lever, easy for some to say. There is no throw lever for dealing with the focus on the thermal. Now, there is a kind of throw lever system for dealing with the digital night vision up top, which is very nice, easy to use. And I'm sure that you'll be able to get a kind of a screw in throw lever for that. I wouldn't be surprised if the one in the back actually works on the one in the front. I might have a little bit of dirt in it. Yep, it does. It works on the one in the front. However, I put this back in so I don't lose it. However, this is a little bit awkward to use when you're trying to focus the thermal, especially as a lefty. As a right-handed thermal user, you kind of have to put your hand in front of the lens to do it. Now it'd be nice if they could get something that you can do that with. You can cup your hand over the top and do that, but it is a little bit stiff, and like I'm not a particularly weak guy and I kind of struggle with it sometimes. So when you're down at the rifle and you're trying to focus the thermal, there is a little bit of kind of fiddliness to it, but that is generally because you've got all the scopes. If you take the sunshade off though, which you can do, it is a lot easier. It's only when the sunshade is on. So I tend to use the sunshade during the day and at night time I take the sunshade off, put it in the bag, and if I'm using it daytime, I use the sunshade, because obviously it's better for when you use for sun glare. So that's the only thing, is just remember to take that sunshade off when you want to focus down the the thermal. It is fiddly. However, you've also got a focusable IR torch, which is great, fantastic as well. It allows you to see a lot longer ranges with your digital IR, and it was sort of with your with the digital night vision, and you can flood it out if you're doing closer range stuff like rabbits at 50-60 yards or whatever. But I tend to use it on full spot, and it works. Now, going back to why I think it's silly, I'm going to put this down for a second. Going back to why I think it's silly for companies such as Pulsar to do away with their digital night vision and not concentrate on maybe working on multispectral like what DNT is. It is kind of important that you kind of understand how both of these work. Now, I work predominantly in forestry conditions. There is a lot of cover. There is deer fences, there is branches, there's trees, there's bushes, there's grass, there's all sorts of things in the real world and environment that you have to deal with. Now, it doesn't matter if you have the top of the range £20,000 thermal, it still won't pick up a wire fence. It will not. Picture in picture. Bounce between the two. I've not got a safe shot there. Now, that dark patch is the deer, probably the back end of it. And the thermal, can't tell if I've got a safe shot or not. But with the picture in picture I can see fence line, everything else. Now, what I need to do now is basically just wait. Wait until that comes into the open so I can get it. Fence. It will not pick up the Rylock fencing, or it will not pick up kind of thin mesh fencing or anything like that. So if you've got a deer on your forestry block or on your property, and even though if you've got the right to shoot on both sides of that fence, if you're looking just with thermal, you'll see that deer, but you can't tell if it's in front of the fence or behind the fence. As soon as you put the night vision on this scope, you will be able to pick up the fence, even if it is close range or away. So it could be that the fact that the deer you might know the deer is over a fence a long distance away, but you might still have to shoot through that fence to get to get that deer, or the fox or whatever you're shooting. The problem lies with that is that with thermal, the thermal bleed will show the deer because it's only feeding off the heat source. It's not picking up whatever cover. Now that same goes with branches. Now I've obviously in the springtime you have a lot more leaves and stuff like that, so you will pick up a lot more detail on that. But see, at this time of year, when there's no leaves on the trees and you just have thin branches everywhere, you could see the deer perfect in the thermal with a 635 or a 1080 or a 1240, whatever. You could see the deer perfect in the thermal, but as soon as you flick on that night vision, you cannot see it at all. You might see two eyes. You might see just maybe the ears or a bit of movement or whatever. And that's not because the IR is blinding back or shining back off of whatever is in front. That is because it is genuinely picking up the cover that is in front, whether that's grass, branches, fences, anything that is thin cover. Now, that will make you decide whether that is a safe shot or whether it's not. So the good thing about what I've liked about the multispectral and using the multispectral is all the problems that I found with thermal, all the years of dealing with thermal, like, I mean, we're talking 15, 20 years now, all the dealings I've had with thermal units and all my concerns with thermal are still the same, even now where we're talking 640 resolution. Bear in mind, it was only 10 years ago where 640 resolution was not even thought about. You know, 340 resolution was like the top of the range, and they were just trying to clear up images and stuff like that. Going back to the 220s, 240, sorry, the 200 resolutions, they were top of the range. Doesn't seem that long ago for me. So I'm telling you honestly right now that I have dealt with all the scenarios, and I've had a play with some of the top end stuff that is coming out now. And I still see problems with just using a thermoscope. Now, another thing about it is if someone out there is purchasing a high-end thermoscope for, say, let's say your new XP60 for Thermion from Pulsar, or the XG60 or whatever that they're bringing out or they brought out, you're talking £7,000 to £9,000 depending on the model. £7,000 to £9,000 for a scope. Genuinely, it's a scope. Now, if I was to turn around and say to you that a really good high-end day optic for long-distance shooting, you could get a really, 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 really good one for about £2,500, and you could do the same job as what you would do with a lamp. Over a thermal scope, you would think, well, why am I paying £7,000? It's crazy amount of money. But you're also, if you're paying £7,000 for a standalone thermal scope that can do literally one job, right? And I'm a great believer, if you've got something or somebody who can only do one job, then you should get rid of them. Because the fact of the matter is, they're no use to 99% of the time. So if you got the thermal scope, for instance, you paid £700, are you going to pay another £2,000 or £3,000 for a thermal handheld thermal spotter to spot? A lot of guys won't be able to afford that. A lot of people will definitely not be able to afford that, or they will find themselves in debt thinking that that's what they need. Now, the thermal spotter is still going to be more valuable to you in the long run than any thermal scope will. You cannot scan and spot with a thermal scope. You can if you're already down at whatever you're shooting at or whatever you're looking at. You can scan and spot safely with your rifle, right? Because you're intending to shoot that target. However, for you to acquire that target, I mean to know that the target's there in the first place, you going side by side and up and down and round with a rifle on your shoulder that is quite possibly loaded, then it's a little bit dangerous. And I kid you not, people lose track of what's going on in the scope. If you ever try and ask somebody to film through who are novices and you're asking them to shoot, they'll spend a lot more time going, oh wow, look at this is what I can do, this is the buttons this can do, I can scan in, and they totally miss the whole point of what the scope's all about and actually shooting the thing. I have seen that so many times. So people get lost in the scope. They'll get lost at what they can see, and they'll use it as a scan, and if it's on top of their rifle, they'll scan with that barrel too, and that muzzle will be flying everywhere, which is not safe, it's not good optics, and it's not good for anybody involved. Whether you're somebody passing by and noticing that somebody's waving a rifle out the window, or whether you are with person who is waving the rifle and you're sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute, look, careful, I'm here. Or you're having to watch where that muzzle is in the pitch black. That is not good practice. So having a spotter will always be more important. But if you're paying £7,000 for a thermal rifle scope that doesn't do anything else but thermal, you might not be able to afford that spotter, which is actually far more valuable. Anyway, back to the DNT 635. or even the 225, the Thermnight ranges. Having the multispectral scope is a game changer. That is probably the way night vision optics should be going in the future. Now, this scope has its flaws when it's on thermal. It has its flaws when it's on digital night vision, but combined, it does both the jobs that you can ask it to do. So, for instance, if I'm working in fog, even in areas where I know that there's safe backstops and stuff like that, the digital night vision is absolutely useless. But I can use close range the thermal, or I can get out to maybe 150 yards with the thermal, providing I know my ground and that I am able, that I know that I'm going to shoot safely. Yes, there'll be scenarios where it's just completely unsafe to use thermal whatsoever, or digital night vision. Heavy rain, heavy snow, heavy fog. You will not be able to use the digital night vision along with the IR. You will be able to use the digital day vision because you'll still get the same clarity as what you kind of get. But again, daytime optics, you will still not only have the best optics through clear glass. So it's not... These scopes are not doing away with daytime optics. They're not doing... thermal is not doing away. It's not doing a better job than digital night vision. We have to use all the tools in the box. And the good thing about these multispectral scopes is that it does tick most of the boxes. I have shot in heavy cover during the daytime, beautiful clarity. I have plenty of footage online of me doing this. And you will see using the DNT optics, and bear in mind what's on this scope is no different from what's on the Zulus, as you are getting a phenomenal image. And in fact, if you want to just use it and off the rifle, or you just want to document, you can knock those reticles off and you can get some really nice footage of some good wildlife that you see without having a crosshair in it. And that is what it's all about. It's about being at one with whatever is going on, you being out there and being out and about. Now, I love hunting at night. The reason why I love hunting at night is because it suits me. I'm a night person. I always have been a night person. I love lamping. I loved lamping. I loved the social aspect of lamping when I was younger, going out foxing with a lamp. But over the years, it has become a more solitary job. And having the tools of choice and being as safe as possible is the most important thing. Now, the 635 at £2,500 with your thermal and with your digital night vision, your built-in laser rangefinder, your built-on IR, meaning you do not need to pay any more. It comes with the mount. You do not need to pay any more than your £2,500. There's other products out there that are just digital night vision where you will be paying you will be paying, I don't know, like £1,000, £1,200, but then you have to put an IR in. Sorry, my light has just gone. I think the battery has died on the light, but here, well, I'll keep going anyway. So, genuinely, it's been a disaster today. So you could buy a digital night vision that you will need to buy an IR for. You will have, and then likewise, you could be another couple of £100 on that. So you're getting essentially everything you need to shoot daytime and nighttime just with a scope for £2,500. A good day scope could be £700 or £800, but you can't go shooting into the night, for instance. Guys with a one rifle, for instance, who deer stalks during the day and then wants to go and shoot foxes at night. Well, they kind of have to either take their day scope off and put a night vision on or a thermal on, which means they have to purchase a separate thermal scope or a separate night vision scope, and a separate IR if they've got a separate night vision, And then they have to do all the re-zeros and everything like that. With this, you can pretty much go from day to night, back to day again, and it's great. The another difference is between the 225 and the 635. The 635 takes a 27100 battery, which is rechargeable, removable and rechargeable. It does come with it, the package, actually. You can pick them up on eBay. They're not particularly expensive. Where the 225 are, that takes a normal 18650, which we have, all of us. Now, all of us have loads of. However, most people will have button top ones. These ones only take flat top 27100s or flat top 18650s in the 225R. So again, that's another thing you have to look at, batteries and stuff like that. However, it's not a proprietary battery, so you're not having to pay £100 for a battery to have a spare battery. You're talking £15 or even cheaper, depending where you get them. It's been a bit disorientating in regards to this video, because one minute I had a bright light shining in my face, the next minute now I'm in a kind of dark shadow. Don't know whether this is a better light or not. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up because I am kind of blabbing on a little bit. I hope you enjoyed the footage. I hope that I've made some sense in regards to this. The 635R from DNT OPtics, the Thermnight 635, the 335 are coming in at around about £1,500, and the 225R, which is coming in around about £900, are all phenomenal scopes that will get you out there doing everything you need. That digital day and night vision with the built-in IR is a game changer. And then obviously you've got your laser rangefinder with your ballistic calculators and all that sort of stuff all fed in, is game changer. This is the way the night optics should be going. This is where night optics should be going. The only thing that I would say that would make this better is if it was in a tubed scope. I don't know if that's possible. It could be possible, but if this was in the tubed form, then it would be a lot more versatile for folk that don't have Picatinny rails, for instance, on their rifle, or if you've got like a Seiko S20 and you've got a split Picatinny or whatever. However, these are pretty good on bolt guns. It's all bolt guns that I have. I don't have any AR platform rifles, and they work completely fine. Those who worry about whether you can use them on big calibers, as I said, I've used them on, I've got the 3-12 Zulus, for instance, on the 270. I've got this on the 243. It pretty much will cope the recoils on that. The only one thing I will say, and I will say this for every night vision unit, thermal unit, and that have it, do not rely on recoil activated video for anything. Trust me, I have tried and it doesn't work all the time. It will work sometimes, it will not work all the time. So do not rely on recoil activated video. The other good thing about these DNT scopes is if you are like me that have to do YouTube videos and stuff like that, you will have it's got good audio. It's fantastic audio actually, and you've got good image quality. So just remember to hit that record button. Anyway, any questions, put them in the comments. I'll put a link to that device into the description as well, where you can purchase it, and I will catch you again next week. But big news, I don't know if you've missed my podcast, I will be on the DNT OPtics stand at the British Shooting Show. I will be there over the 3 days. I had only planned to be there for the 1 day, but I am now being coerced into doing it for the 3 days. So you will see me at the British Shooting Show. I will not be at the Stalking Show this year, or maybe miss quite a few of them actually, because I've got other things planned. However, British Shooting Show on the 12th. It starts 12th, 13th and 14th of February. I will be there in Birmingham. So if you do see me, if you recognise me, if you want to say hi, Want to come up and give me a hug, don't bother. But if you want to say hi, come and see me at the DNT Optics stand, or even if I'm having a wee wander around, just give me a nudge and I'll give you a shake at hand shaking it. If I'm videoing or whatever, just jump into the video. I don't care. I'm pretty easy. Just say hi anyway. And I will catch you again. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.